Hello everyone, I hope you all can hear me well. If not, just raise it. My name is Domingos Ferreira. I'm director of Much Consulting and I'm head of software engineering also at Much Consulting. We are a Odoo Gold partner. You may know about us. I will talk today about how we can improve Odoo quality with automated code checks. We have here a little bit the agenda. You can go through it, but we will essentially talk about from the engineering, always a very engineering perspective, on the pipeline of the continuous integration of what happens to the development and how we can ensure quality is well assured through the process. Okay. Before we start, if you think you may need to take some pictures during the slides, you can just scan this QR code. You can request the slides. I will share with you the slides later. Promise, pinky swear, this is only used to share the slides for this presentation with you. If you get spammed from this, you can spam me back. It's fine, no worries. Okay, let's start then. Odoo, and thinking even on Odoo as a framework, creates a little bit of a paradox, right? Because in one hand, we can get really fast. We can go places really fast. We can create solutions that didn't exist in minutes, that in any other way would take months, can be created in weeks, right? This flexibility and ways to customize from small fields, adding one field in a module, adding full modules, full apps, is as scalable as we want, as agile as we want, as elastic as we want it to be. But on the other hand, this creates the quality tax, right? All this rapid customization creates the issue. How do we keep up quality? How do we keep up with standards? How do we guarantee that code is consistent, is good, and respects some boundaries? Especially when we start doing it in teams, right? Especially when there's more than one developer. There's sometimes even more than one company contributing to the same Odoo. If we think Odoo growing as they are growing also into bigger industries, into bigger clients, this will happen more and more where different partners are collaborating in the same code base, right? It's not new. And I think there's also all this speed promotes a little bit of a engineering oversight where we tend to forget some basic software engineering rules or standards. And this is about this. So I will attempt to prove or to show that we have a three-stage approach that ensures both speed and quality. And the best part is that this takes 15 minutes to do, to be honest. You can get my email, any scripts that I will reference here, you can ask them, I will share them with you, no problem afterwards. And it's basically plug and play, it's something you can do very fast. This is also why now I think it's quite important, because the AI of code, the tsunami of AI code is just fast approaching, right? The amount of lines of code being produced is growing exponentially and will keep growing exponentially over the next few years. It will explode completely, right? So the more AI can do this and generate code based on natural language, the more we actually need, on the other hand, the static tools to guarantee that this code complies to rules. We have rules for this code, right? For sure, it's increasing the development. The poor quality cannot be ensured also as context grows. For as good as the AI tool may be, it will lose context, it will lose sight of the rules that it needs to comply with. That's why we need the static tools. And honestly, relying completely on the peer review, the other engineer that does the 4i check, that does the pull request review, etc., is just too much burden. It's shifting the responsibility completely from developing to the other step, and it's a manual step that we know is prone to errors also. So without a robust system that ensures this quality, that ensures this static set of rules that any code, no matter who generated it, needs to be complied with, we basically will increase technical debt. And this is something that will be paid. And keep in mind, one of the big moments in every Odoo life cycle is the upgrade, right? Every 1 year, every 2 years, every 3 years, you will upgrade. This technical debt will always come back to haunt you on those upgrades because it needs to be maintained, it needs to be improved. Okay, so I want to also, before we go into the details, just be sure to ensure you it's about the approach, it's about the philosophy, not about specific tools. okay? So it's about the principle, that the power comes from layering the approach that we need to take. We will define 3 layers and we'll have a 3-layered approach to things. This system is tool agnostic. I will use GitHub Actions as an example, but we will not go into too much detail on that also, it's fine. There's a very rich system of free tools out there, open source tools that you can use, and just to be sure, this is absolutely hosting agnostic. If you are customizing, if you have back, can you hear me? Yes, sorry about that. It was better in silence, probably. No, I'm joking. But if you have an Odoo, you are customizing it. You have partners customizing it, especially freelancers. That's whoever is customizing on your code. Whatever you are hosting it, this is good to have. This is something that you should definitely have. Some examples on the tools that you can have for CI and CD, the standards: Jenkins, GitLab, GitHub, Azure DevOps. For quality checkers, nothing major here. Is pretty standard players in the industry, pretty standard tools for most open source projects. All of them also open source tools, or most of them also open source tools themselves. Okay, now let's go talk about this 3-layered approach that I've been talking to you about that ensures the best of both worlds, right? So first, it's important to do checks as early as possible. The developer is developing on his local machine. The first checks should be local. This is what it's called the pre-commit hook. These are the checks that we need to do here. There's a downside on pre-commit hooks on the machine. If you make too many checks and things get slow, engineers find ways around it. So the first core principle that we learned is it needs to be blazing fast. It needs to be under a second. It's only way that it's easy to adopt is you introduce this and the developer doesn't notice a difference from the day he was working before, from the previous day. Right? So here what we check is mainly static control, so mainly formatting, linting, but we will go into this. Then Odoo specific checks, they exist with PyLint Odoo, but they are slower. So here is the big, where do we do this? Because if we do it too soon, it becomes slow, we violate the first principle that it needs to be fast. If you do it too late, it's also a problem. So deeper checks are done here, and specific Odoo checks. This is Odoo aware. And after the push, so when you are actually sharing the code, committing the code, sharing the code with your colleagues and committing it to the repository, then we need to enforce all the rules that should have been checked before. So you need to run all the checks again, plus some more, plus automated tests, and it's the ultimate gatekeep of quality. Okay, so these are the 3 pieces that come together for this 3-layer approach. So in the first one, the pre-commit hook that I was talking about. This is really something that nothing is worse than not having this and having people committing to a central repository and having a main pipeline and you cannot deploy code because the format of something is wrong. This is very silly. It's a waste of time for everyone. So pre-commit hook help catch these errors, these very basic errors very soon. When the developer is committing, these checks are run locally. What we do here mainly, we use Black, which is a formatter tool, ensures that all code is committed with the same format that was agreed before between all developers. All these tools are also configurable, so you have config files that you can go in the nitty-gritty and be very specific about it. But in the name of the promise that I made you of 15 minutes to deploy this, you can also just use the default. Then we also use iSort. This sorts and organizes imports. You know, we don't like it very disorganized, so we like to have things very neatly organized. And Flake 8, which is a linting tool that is a fast checker that runs through Python code and just checks that no major Python rules are being violated on this commit. Yeah, so how to activate this, to be honest, is just dropping this file in the repository, installing 2 tools, and that's it. It is running. We learned that trying to put slower checks here, it's a problem. Developers do find a way around it, okay? So, hence the solution for it. Where do we run PyLint Odoo? PyLint Odoo is essential, is the only actually Odoo-aware tool in all this pipeline. Where do we run it? And in one hand, in the pre-commit hook, it will catch errors very soon. That's great. It will avoid creating pull requests with silly mistakes, but it slows down commits, and engineers start to try to go around it. If we do it too late on the pull request, then the quality check is there, but the number of errors still happening there, silly errors are big, then people get mad with each other, they start to discuss, why did you do that? You should have checked this manually, you didn't. It's a mess. So what the answer is, it's also in the end a pre-commit hook, but it's checked on push. So when the developer is committing, is working locally, that's fine. When they try to share the code to the repo, then this check runs and catches those mistakes. This is fine because a push happens maybe every 5 to 10 commits or something like this, so it's much less. We can take the tax of the slowness every once in a while. Okay, and then in the end, we have the mother of all the checks, right? So the central CI pipeline runs when a pull request is created. So pull request is created, this is the developer signaling my feature is done. I want to merge this feature to whatever it needs to be merged. So we need to run basically all the checks that we did before. Here we can add some more, right? Here we can divide a little bit in two. We have the basics. Some of them that we run before, black, isort, and pep8. Pilot also runs again, just to be sure no one skipped these things. Then we have a security scanner and a code complexity scanner, Bandit and Shannon in this case, right? Then we have two extra tools that are advanced. We use SonarQube that does a more deep static code analysis and automated tests. This is how it looks. Someone tried to commit something that failed the checks. One thing that we learned to do basically is parallelize everything. It has not to do with the speed or these tools are super fast, honestly. It's about, you don't want to be running this in serial and there's a failure in the formatter, right? And you fix the formatter error and then there's a failure in the next step. And then you have 4 commits to fix something. So parallel, whatever fails in whatever test, we get the report, we can work with it and fix everything in one go. Another thing that we learned to do is, as the number of repos as an engineer grow, as a partner, number of clients grow, you have more repositories to take care of, is centralize these configuration files for the pre-commits and for the main CI pipelines on push, right? In this case, the GitHub Actions. Centralize them in a repository, make all the client repositories reference these ones. This will make your life easier because, these tools, they're also open source, they're being developed constantly. There are now a big wave of people developing re-implementations with Rust because it's so fast. So if you want to switch, Black for another Rust-based tool, for example, then you just have to switch it in one place. And all your repositories will reference that and will be basically up to date. It's fast, it's simple to manage, and you keep all your repos to the same standard, a high one. So basically SonarQube on the advanced ones, we use this tool. It caches what we call code smells and bugs. It goes way deeper. And allows you to really go into more detail than the basic linters. Also, it's very interesting that you can define your own custom rules for it. All right. So one of the things that you can do is make it then, this one tool, Odoo aware. I mentioned that only Pylint Odoo was the Odoo aware tool in the tool chain. You can make SonarQube also work like that. So you can create your own rules. You can, for example, avoid that certain models are overridden or certain functions are overridden, for example, to ensure that no one is doing any finicky mistakes. You can create all sorts of rules there. And automated tests is basically calling the automated test. So prevents regressions. You ensure that all the code that you are developing is coming with tests. You ensure that engineers also thought a little bit of the business workflow and not only on the code implementation of the solution. These two checks then are with the whole pipeline. They run on every code request. Here we're not code commit. Pull request. So here we're not talking about code anymore, we are talking about features. If a feature is being delivered, this feature needs to come with a certificate of quality, and this is the certificate of quality. Okay, I'm finishing basically, and there's a promise that there's that this is a very easy to implement solution for the code quality problem in Odoo, or as develop Odoo. And there's a 3-action plan of what you can do to do it before the end of the day today. Add these config files to your repository. Again, you can just ask them from me, I can send them to you, you can have them. You can even, you are busy, but you can write an email to a colleague that's still in the office and be like, oh, I watched this nice presentation from this guy. It did said this, can you do it still today? He has to, otherwise send them to me. You just need to copy the pre-commit configuration, put it in your repository. You need to install 2 tools, is install pre-commit and pre-commit install, which is funny because it's very similar. And then it's done, basically. You should protect your branch in GitHub, GitLab, etc. Create the protection rules. Then merges can only happen if the tests pass. Good. And that's it. It's standard. It's formatted code, does not break any basic rules, and runs reliably with tests. And that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Feel free to ask questions, and if you still want the slides, you can scan the other QR code and we will get them to you.
Hello, hello. Thank you so
Hello.
much for the
Thank you.
very interesting talk.
Thank you.
Just letting the pad a few minutes to warm up. Feel free to ask all the questions.
It's everything super clear.
Apparently, I think it's the promise that you are sending the slides afterwards. Maybe
It's
that's
fine.
the reason. But there's a question coming up here. Just letting it. So the question here is, do you run all this in every customer implementation or just generic?
No, in every customer implementation we run this. Of course, projects may have different maturity stages, but this is our standard pipeline that needs to run in every project that we run.
It's part of your process, basically.
Yeah, it's part of the process.
What kind of Odoo specific checks do you configure in SonarQube?
Yeah, in SonarQube we do have, for example, some methods that we do not allow to be overwritten at least without supervision. So we want to have that flagged, not necessarily blocking. But for example, if someone is overriding certain core methods in accounting, maybe we want to double check that there's really no other way around it, and the business case justifies the approach.
And are there any guidelines on how to implement those checks?
I don't know what they mean by guidelines. But basically every of these tools has its own configuration, right? So you can configure to tailor it to your needs as time goes by. As also you learn from the team. Also, it's very good idea to let the team have a part in this. And contribute with ideas, and to have rules that they also see the value in it. And then it's pretty static. So the tools and the setup are the guidelines, right? Then it's up to you to decide if in the end you want to really block any code from being committed, from being merged that violates the rules, or if some checks should just raise a flag, right? Be yellow, like pay attention to this, is this really intentional? Or just be informative about it and just get the report from the tool to analyze later.
And one more question here. Do you use Odoo automated testings or something else like PyTest or PyTest BDD?
Basically what we do, we tried a lot of things. We use mainly Odoo automated testing, automated tests. It's basically what we use mainly.
Thank you so much. We still have time. Any questions maybe? Feel free. And I'm sure our presenter here will be available for any additional questions outside.
Otherwise, you can
the
also
stage.
reach me. I also have another talk in 30 minutes in the same room.
Lovely.
And meanwhile, if you see me, you can ask me to talk, for
Or-
contact. Yeah,
or
you can
you-
also
At the stand as
find
well.
us at the stand.
You have great
in
coffee.
All 10 C1, and we have great coffee. Yeah, it's true.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.